Hello everyone, greetings from North Carolina. I'm currently heading north in the ICW to the Chesapeake Bay, where I'll meet up with the Sail to the Sun rally and we'll head south again to Miami in October. I left Florida in June, so obviously I'm not in any great hurry. I've had lots of time to look around and see just what's happening, and honestly, there's a whole lot of unnecessary panic over the whole COVID issue where boaters and boating, where cruisers and cruising is concerned. Let's take a few minutes and discuss it. I'd like to give you the benefit of my observations on what cruising on the ICW in the fall of 2020 is all about. As we've been told repeatedly, COVID is dangerous mostly to people with either comorbidities, who are obese, or who are elderly. In fact, the majority of deaths from COVID are in those categories. And this is a generalization. If you're younger or you're in good to very good health, in general, the odds of dying from COVID are quite low. I'm in a risk group as I'm older than 60. I know that's hard to believe, but there you are. Anyway, I have not changed my daily routine in any way, other than when I'm forced to deal with the COVID issue because of what others have done. In my case, that means any in-person banking that I have to do, or any dealings with government offices. But otherwise, as a cruiser, my life has been remarkably not impacted by COVID-19. First of all, boating in general and cruising in particular are very safe activities as far as COVID is concerned. Out in the water, you're getting lots of fresh air and sunshine, and hopefully some exercise other than bending your elbow over sundowners. Now, as well, you're socially distanced from other boaters. Even at marinas, and I've stopped at nearly 20 marinas on my way north from Florida, there's very little change from last season. The ones taking the most extreme measures tend to be municipal marinas. Privately owned facilities are much more relaxed. A few marinas have closed their boaters' lounges. One that I know of has shut down its showers. Most have some sort of plexiglass shield in front of their cash registers, and something over half have their staff members wearing masks. None have requested that I wear a mask while inside the facility. If you'd like a rundown on what precautions marinas are taking, go to the Waterway Guide website and look up the marinas you're interested in. They've listed them all and keep it updated. A good job there, guys, and thank you from all of us. As compared to a Walmart or a grocery store, I'm unlikely to come into contact with more than one or two people at a marina. In other words, the likelihood of even being exposed to COVID from someone who has it is low. Add to that the scientific consensus that the exposure needs to be prolonged, and you can see just how safe being at a marina is. Compare this to what you're likely doing back home. You go to the grocery store, you go to the Walmart or some other department store, the drugstore, the hardware store, and so on. In a given day running errands, you're probably exposed to more than 100 people, and yet here you are, still running around in perfect health. Thousands of boaters will stay home this winter and spend their time shoveling snow instead of sand. Now, not only will you be cold and miserable, you'll be exposed to whatever new flu comes along this winter, plus the usual colds we all get. Well, that's not true. Like most cruisers, I haven't had a cold in years, but you know what I mean. Plus, if there's a resurgence of COVID-19, which I don't expect to see, you'll be in the middle of it instead of at a nice deserted island with a beach, great sunsets, and maybe a neighboring boat a half-mile off. We both know where you'd rather be, don't we? But what about going to get groceries and provisions? Most grocery and drugstores now offer delivery, and there's always Instacart. If you want to go uber paranoid, you can ask that your groceries be dropped off at the end of the dock, and you can schlep them to the boat yourself. The one group that is going to have a problem this year is Canadians. If you're coming south from the Great Lakes, you're not going to be allowed to enter via New York. They won't issue you a cruising permit, even though you can legally fly into the United States and be exposed to thousands of people while doing so. Does that make sense to you? It sure doesn't to me, but that's government for you. So how do you get around this and get south this winter? I see two methods. The first is that you ship your boat south to Miami, then fly down to meet it. When you leave Miami, you head straight out to the Bahamas, so you won't need a cruising permit at all until you return to the U.S. Could you have the boat shipped to a state south of New York and sail it from there? Possibly. The jury is out on that one. There's no guarantee that you'll be able to get a cruising permit, so your best bet is to ship it south to your departure point. The other method would be to hire a delivery captain to bring your boat south. If you choose this method, you would arrange to meet the boat south of New York, say in Maryland. This is my friend Carl, and he's what a real delivery captain actually looks like, although not all of them have quite as great a beard as he does. If you want more information on him, the link is attached to the picture here. Your captain has already gotten your cruising permit when he or she brought the boat into the U.S., so you're good to go, and you can continue south on your own. You could also head out the St. Lawrence and sail south offshore, but it's way too late in the season for that, and I cannot recommend it. You really should start a trip like that in early July when the weather is more amenable to such a journey. As for the Bahamas, their current policy for U.S. citizens is found online at www.bs.usembassy.gov/covid-19-information/. The link's right there. You need a negative COVID test taken within 5 days of arrival in the Bahamas. Each traveler must present a COVID-19 RT-PCR molecular swab test with a negative result in order to apply for the travel health visa application needed to enter the Bahamas. No other type of COVID-19 test is acceptable. Following entry, you must quarantine for 14 days, and a private boat is acceptable as a quarantine location. These rules will no doubt change between now and late 2020 when cruisers start arriving in the Bahamas, so check on them before leaving the U.S. for the Bahamas. If you think I'm sounding very casual about the whole COVID thing, you're right, I am. That's because I've yet to see any reason out here in the water cruising that I have anything to be afraid of. My response would be considerably different had I spent the last 6 months in Miami or New York or any other highly populated area, but I didn't. The places I've been are the places we cruisers go to, and they've been incredibly safe and relaxed. And that right there is a good reason to go when you stop and think about it. Why remain in the middle of this mess? If you're one of those who has decided to put this year's cruising plans on hold, or if you're still wondering if you're not sure what to do, my advice to you is to go. At a maximum, an absolute maximum, you'll face the same risk of exposure as you did at home. The reality is your likelihood of exposure as a cruiser is quite low. And as I mentioned earlier, you can lower that risk even further if you so choose with things like Instacart delivery and social distancing on the water. So folks, I hope to see you out in the water this fall where it's safe. Good cruising. See you in the islands. Bye for now.